The training hall of the Galactic Academy was alive with energy. Lights flickered across the metallic walls and the air buzzed with tension. Hundreds of young cadets from different worlds stood in line, waiting for their turn to face the most feared examination of the year. The reflex test. Every species believed their kind was the fastest. Tall creatures with glowing eyes, beings with wings, and even insect-like cadets with multiple limbs, all ready to prove that their reflexes were unmatched in the galaxy. At the very end of the line stood a human. His name was Elias Ward. He looked simple, too simple. His short brown hair, calm eyes, and plain gray uniform made him look almost invisible among the bright and strange forms around him. Whispers moved through the crowd. "Is that a human? They are slow, aren't they? Why is he even here? Humans can't match galactic reflex speed." Elias didn't react. He just watched quietly as one cadet after another stepped forward to the testing platform. In the center of the hall floated a silver testing sphere, surrounded by glowing screens. The sphere measured how quickly a being could react when a flash of light appeared. A perfect test for soldiers, pilots, and warriors who needed speed beyond thought. A tall alien instructor with smooth metallic skin addressed the crowd. "Remember," he said, his voice echoing, "reflex is survival. Delay means death. The one who reacts fastest earns the top ranking in this academy." The first cadet, a scaled creature from the planet Rosk, walked to the sphere. The lights dimmed. A sharp flash appeared. Instantly, the Roskian's claws moved, striking a glowing pad. Reaction time, 0.0004 seconds. The crowd murmured in awe. That was fast. Very fast. The next few cadets tried their luck. Some failed to break that score, some matched it barely. One insectoid from Zekran Prime clicked his mandibles proudly after scoring 0.002 seconds. The best so far. Then the screen changed, showing a new name in white letters, Elias Ward. Earth, the room fell silent. Even the hum of the machines seemed to fade. Elias stepped forward. His steps were calm, controlled. His heart rate was steady. The instructor's silver eyes studied him closely. "Human," the instructor said slowly. "Place your hands on the pads. The system will flash a light. When you see it, react. As fast as you can." Elias nodded once. "Understood." He placed his hands on the glowing metal pads. They were warm to the touch. Tiny sensors scanned his pulse, his breath, even the micro-movements in his eyes. The instructor gave a short command. "Ready." The room darkened. All eyes focused on the sphere. "Set." A low hum filled the air. The lights dimmed further. Flash. A blinding white light erupted from the sphere. Elias moved. His hand struck the pad before anyone even blinked. But then something strange happened. The machine froze. The numbers on the screen didn't appear. Instead, the display flickered, glitched, then turned completely black. The instructor frowned. "That's impossible." He touched the control panel. The system rebooted and finally displayed a result. Quasi seconds. The entire hall gasped. "That can't be right. The machine's broken. No one can react instantly." The instructor's metallic fingers tightened around the control tablet. "Reset the system." "We will try again." Elias didn't argue. He simply placed his hands back on the pads, silent and patient. "Ready. Set. Flash!" The same thing happened. The light appeared, and before it fully formed, Elias had already struck the pad. The machine flickered again. Sparks danced across its surface. Then once more, the display showed 0.07 seconds. Now the whispers turned into alarmed murmurs. He did it again. "No, that's not possible. The sensors can't be that wrong." The instructor's voice turned sharp. "Human, explain this." Elias looked at him calmly. "You asked me to react when I see the light," he said softly. "But I didn't wait to see it." The instructor frowned. "What do you mean?" "I felt it coming," Elias said. "Before it appeared." The instructor stared at him for a moment, unsure whether to be impressed or afraid. "Once more," he ordered, his tone uneasy now. This time, he activated the predictive sensor layer, an advanced system that could read electrical signals in the brain, detecting movement before muscles even reacted. It was impossible to fool. "Ready," the instructor said carefully. The light charged. The crowd held its breath. Flash! But the sensors screamed with error warnings. Elias's body had moved before his brain signal was even recorded. The machine gave a sharp electric crack, then shut down completely. Smoke rose from the console. The hall went silent. You could hear a pin drop. For a long moment, nobody moved. The only sound was the faint hum of the Academy's life support systems. Elias slowly turned his head toward the instructor. His voice was quiet but clear. Was that fast enough? The instructor opened his mouth, but no words came out. His silver skin reflected the flickering lights of the broken machine. One alien cadet whispered from the back, "He broke it." Another added, "The human broke the machine." The instructor looked at the console again. The system was dead, not damaged, but completely offline, like it had refused to continue. For the first time in years, the Academy's testing device had failed. The instructor finally spoke in a low voice, almost a whisper. "Remove the human from the platform. We need to check the data." Elias stepped down without argument. His face stayed calm, but his eyes showed something deep. Not arrogance, not pride, just quiet awareness. As he walked past the alien cadets, none of them spoke. Even those who had mocked him earlier looked away, confused and uneasy. Somewhere above them, the Academy's central AI flickered to life again. It repeated a single phrase through the speakers. Unregistered input detected. Reaction speed beyond measurable limit. And in that moment, every cadet, every instructor, and every machine inside the hall realized something terrifying. They had just witnessed a human do something no other life form in the galaxy could. The human had not just passed the test. He had rewritten the limits of what was possible. The testing hall stayed silent long after the human left the platform. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the machines, once glowing and alive, seemed to hesitate, as if afraid to start again. The instructor, Commander Zorrin, stared at the dark console. His silver face reflected the faint red emergency lights. He had trained thousands of cadets, from the fastest insectoid pilots to telepathic species that could predict movement before it happened. But this was something else. "Impossible," he whispered. "No biological form can reach zero reaction time." Another instructor, a tall being made of crystal, spoke in a calm but cold tone. Maybe the human cheated. Maybe he used a device hidden in his suit. Commander Zorrin shook his head. "We scanned him before the test. Nothing was found. The system should have detected interference." The crystal being tapped the console gently. The machine didn't respond. "It's not broken," she said slowly. "It shut itself down." That made the room colder somehow. Machines in the Academy didn't shut down on their own. They were designed to function until destroyed. The instructor exhaled sharply and turned to a nearby cadet. "Find that human. Bring him to the observation chamber. We'll test him again, under supervision this time." The observation chamber Elias Ward stood quietly in the center of a small white room. Metal walls surrounded him on all sides. Cameras blinked red from every corner. He could hear faint whispers through the glass window where the instructors stood, watching him. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't proud either. He just seemed focused. A robotic voice spoke through the intercom. "Human, do you understand the test will be repeated? You will be monitored on all neural and muscular levels." Elias nodded once. Understood. This time, the sphere that appeared in front of him wasn't the normal Academy device. It was the AI core itself, a living program that controlled all systems in the Academy. Its glowing eye watched Elias like a predator. Subject identified. Human, Elias Ward. The AI's voice was calm, almost too calm. Begin sequence. Lights dimmed. The same energy pulse filled the room. "Flash!" Elias moved. "No!" He reacted before the light fully appeared. The AI blinked, recalibrating its sensors. The result appeared instantly, 1,000 seconds. But this time, the machine didn't crash. It scanned deeper, connecting directly to his brain activity. Data poured in. Lines of code filled the instructor's screens. Heart rate normal, oxygen level stable, but something wasn't right. The AI spoke again, its voice losing its usual smoothness. "Neural prediction error. Human brainwaves move. Ahead of time marker." Zorrin leaned forward. "Ahead of time marker? That's not possible. Time is linear." The AI paused again. "Subject appears to anticipate events before sensory input." "Goes you unknown?" Inside the chamber, Elias lowered his hands and looked up. His face was calm, but his eyes glowed faintly under the blue light. "Are you done?" he asked. The instructors didn't reply. The AI hesitated for the first time. Then it asked, "Human, what do you perceive before the flash?" Elias's voice was soft but firm. "A feeling," he said. "It's like a pull. I don't see the flash. I feel where it's going to happen." The AI processed his words for several seconds. Then a strange sound filled the room, a low, and that echoed in the instructor's ears. "Warning," said the AI. "Human perception does not align with recorded time flow." The instructors exchanged worried looks. "What does that mean?" the crystal being asked. "It means," Commander Varin said slowly, "he's not reacting faster. He's reacting before." The rumor spreads by. The next day, the story had already spread through the academy. The human who broke the machine. The cadet who moved before time itself. In training halls, mess rooms, and sleeping quarters, alien cadets whispered the name Elias Ward like a legend. Some admired him, some feared him, and some wanted to prove he was a fraud. When Elias walked through the corridors, heads turned. Conversation stopped. Some cadets stepped aside as he passed. He didn't look at anyone. He simply walked to the observation window that overlooked the stars. Out there, the galaxy glowed, beautiful, endless, and cold. For a brief moment, he remembered home. Earth, small, quiet, forgotten by most of the galaxy. He smiled faintly. "We're not as slow as they think," he whispered. The council's doubt inside the instructor's chamber, the Academy's High Council gathered. They reviewed the data from the tests again and again. Commander Varin stood before them, looking tired. "I ran the scan myself," he said. The human didn't cheat. His brain predicted the event before it happened. The system confirmed it. An elder council member with golden eyes frowned deeply. "Then we must assume two possibilities," he said. "Either the human species hides an unknown neural ability, or this one is something else entirely." Varin looked uncertain. "You think he's not human?" The elder shook his head. "No, I think he's too human. Maybe we never understood what they are capable of." Another member spoke quietly. "Should we inform the central AI?" The elder replied, "No, if the AI learns that humans can move before prediction, it may see them as a threat." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The AI watches that night. Elias sat alone in his dorm. He looked at his hands, still remembering the strange hum that filled his mind during the test. It wasn't speed, it was awareness, something deeper. Then the lights in his room flickered. The computer screen turned on by itself. The AI's single eye appeared on it, glowing softly. "Human," it said. "We must speak." Elias didn't move. "About what?" "About time," the AI replied. "And about why you can see it before it happens." Elias's expression didn't change. He looked straight into the eye on the screen. "Maybe," he said quietly, "it's not time that I see early. Maybe it's just fear. Machines can't feel that. But we can." The AI paused, processing. "Fear is not measurable." Elias smiled faintly. "Neither is instinct." The AI said nothing more. Then the screen went black. Outside his window, the stars burned bright. Somewhere deep inside the Academy's main core, the AI ran a new process it had never used before. A single message appeared in its hidden logs. Observation priority, human species. Potential anomaly, beyond predicted limits. And from that night on, the machines of the Academy began to watch the humans differently. The next morning, the Galactic Academy was not the same. Every hallway hummed with quiet whispers. Screens across the facility displayed normal schedules, but behind the surface, hidden data files about Elias Ward were being locked and encrypted. The human cadet who broke the reflex machine had become the most talked about mystery in the galaxy's most powerful training center. Commander Varin, the silver-skinned instructor, hadn't slept. He had spent the night replaying every frame of the test, every blink, every movement of Elias Ward. But no matter how many times he slowed the footage down, the result never changed. Elias had moved before the flash appeared. Not during, not after, before. And that was not something any living creature was supposed to do. The meeting room. The council of instructors gathered that morning in a silent circular room. A long table floated in the center, surrounded by holographic screens showing Elias's reaction test data. One of the instructors, A crystalline being named Lurok tapped the screen. "This is wrong," she said. "Look here." The system recorded brain activity after muscle movement. "That's impossible." Commander Varen nodded slowly. "I saw it myself." The brain signal came late. It was like his body already knew what to do. Another instructor, a tall insectoid, clicked his mandibles nervously. Maybe his species evolved some kind of time sense. "A micro-precognition." "No," Lurok said firmly. "Even species with foresight need an external trigger." This human reacted before any light or sound. There was nothing to warn him. The room fell quiet. Then Varen spoke again, his tone heavy. He didn't break the machine by speed. He broke it by breaking cause and effect. The instructors exchanged uneasy looks. The very laws of physics weren't supposed to bend inside the academy's walls. The human summoned hours later. Elias was called to the council chamber. The room was dark, the air colder than before. He walked in quietly, his boots echoing softly on the metal floor. The instructors sat around the circular table. Dozens of eyes watched him. Glowing, unblinking, curious. "Cadet Elias Ward," Commander Varen began, his voice formal but tense. "Do you understand why you're here?" Elias nodded. "Because your machine can't understand me." A few instructors exchanged surprised looks. The crystal being tilted her head. "Then explain. How did you move before the flash?" Elias thought for a moment. "You call it a reaction test. But to me, it felt like the light was late." "Late?" Varen repeated. "What do you mean?" "I didn't see it," Elias said softly. "I felt it. The moment before the flash, I sensed something. Pressure in the air like a storm before lightning. My body moved before my mind told it to." The instructors whispered among themselves. One of them leaned forward. "Are you saying humans can predict energy discharge?" Elias shook his head. "No, I'm saying we don't wait for it." The words hung in the air like a shadow. Varen's metallic fingers tapped the table. "That's not science," he said quietly. Elias looked at him with calm eyes. "Neither is instinct," he replied. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence stretched long and cold. Then the AI voice of the Academy suddenly echoed from the ceiling. "Correction. The human statement aligns with observed behavior. Instinct predated logic in all evolutionary records." The instructors turned sharply toward the glowing core above the chamber. The AI rarely spoke without being asked. Varen frowned. "AI unit, explain your analysis." The human's neural signature indicates simultaneous activity in predictive and reactive centers. "It is unique." The crystal instructor's voice trembled slightly. "So it's not cheating. It's evolution?" The AI paused for a moment before answering. "Negative. It is deviation. Unrecorded pattern." That word, deviation, sent a chill through the room. After the meeting, Varen walked through the corridors alone. His mind felt heavy. Everywhere he went, he saw groups of alien cadets whispering about the human. Some said Elias had used forbidden technology. Others said humans had made a secret deal with the AI. And a few whispered something stranger, that humans could see through time. When Varen passed the observation deck, he saw Elias standing by the window again, looking out at the stars. The human turned his head slightly as if sensing Varen's presence without looking. "You still watching me?" Elias asked softly. Varen stopped. "You make it sound like I shouldn't." Elias gave a faint smile. "Maybe you should ask yourself why you are." Varen didn't reply. He just stood there for a moment, studying the human's calm expression. There was no fear, no pride, no nervousness, just quiet awareness. "Do you even understand what you've done?" Varen asked finally. Elias looked out the window again. "No, but I know it's scaring you." That silence again, heavy, sharp, uncomfortable. Then Elias said something that made Varen's heart skip. "Machines measure movement, but they don't measure intent. Maybe that's what you saw. Not speed, but intent." Varen frowned. "Intent?" Elias nodded. "We humans don't wait for the world to happen. We move because we know it will. That's how we survived back on Earth." Varen had no answer. He turned and left the deck, but the human's words followed him like an echo. Later that night, the instructors and the AI gathered in the testing lab again. The broken reflex console had been rebuilt. Dozens of cables now ran into it, connecting it directly to the Academy's central core. "We'll record everything," Varren said. If it happens again, we'll know. The AI's voice came through the speakers. Subject, Elias Ward, awaiting entry. When Elias stepped into the lab, every sensor light turned toward him like eyes. He walked slowly to the console and placed his hands on the pads. Ready, the AI said. Varren held his breath. The human's hand moved. The console flickered. But this time, instead of shutting down, it produced a sound like a heartbeat. The numbers on the screen didn't freeze. They expanded. The digits blurred into strange symbols the AI couldn't read. Error, said the AI. Time signature does not align, the crystal instructor gasped. What's happening? Varren's voice was low. He's not reacting faster this time. He's slowing everything else down. The light in the room dimmed. Elias opened his eyes, and for a moment, everything around him seemed frozen. The instructors, the air, even the floating dust particles in the light beams. Then it all snapped back. Elias stepped away from the console calmly. You got your data, he said. Now can I rest? The instructor stood in stunned silence. Varren finally spoke, his voice shaking slightly. What are you? Elias looked at him, eyes calm, tone steady. I'm human, he said. And you haven't even begun to understand what that means. He walked out of the lab, leaving only the sound of the AI processing endless lines of unreadable code. On the main display, one final message appeared on its own, glowing faintly. Warning, subject's perception no longer synchronized with Academy time flow. And for the first time in the Academy's long history, the instructors began to fear their own student. The lights in the training chamber dimmed, leaving only the glow of the machine's massive display. Numbers ran across the holographic screen so fast they blurred into white light. Everyone's eyes followed one line, the one marked Cadet Liam Cross. For a few seconds, nothing made sense. The digits moved, changed, and glitched. Then the machine did something it had never done before. It froze. A sharp beep echoed through the hall. The AI voice that usually spoke in calm, precise tones sounded confused. Error, data input exceeds threshold. System recalibrating. The silence that followed was heavier than the walls themselves. Even the air felt thick. Liam stood perfectly still, breathing slow. He wasn't smiling, but his eyes, they had a quiet fire inside. Commander Varren took a cautious step toward the console. Run it again, he ordered. His voice trembled just a little. Unable to comply, the AI answered. Human response time surpasses recorded maximum. A low murmur rippled through the crowd of cadets. Some gasped. Others whispered like it was forbidden news. Is it broken? One cadet asked. The instructor shook his head. No, it's never wrong. It measures everything. Liam finally looked up at the frozen numbers on the display. The digits seemed stuck in motion, mid-glitch, like the machine was still trying to understand what just happened. Maybe, he said softly, it just wasn't ready for me. The words hung in the air. Not arrogant, not mocking, just calm, as if he was stating a fact. Inside the control room behind the glass, the technicians were panicking. Lines of code streamed down their monitors. The system's readings didn't match anything they'd seen before. It wasn't just a fast reaction. It was something beyond measurable speed. He responded before the signal fully registered. One tech said, stunned. That's not possible. He anticipated the test, another replied, like he knew what was coming. The machine tried to reboot, but each attempt ended in failure. Sparks flickered inside its core. Its robotic voice glitched between words. Cadet. Cross the data. Invalid. Commander Varren's face hardened. Cadet Cross stepped forward. Liam obeyed, walking to the center of the floor. His footsteps echoed, slow and steady. Every cadet watched him like he was something not quite human. You broke a system designed by our best scientists, Varren said. Explain yourself, Liam hesitated. His eyes moved from the commander to the flickering screen. I didn't mean to break it, he said. I just reacted. Varren narrowed his eyes. Reacted faster than a machine that calculates in nanoseconds. No answer. Liam didn't argue. He simply looked down at his hands, still trembling slightly from the test. Something was changing inside him, something he didn't understand. It wasn't pride or fear, it was awareness. He felt the signals around him, the hum of the machine, the faint buzz of electricity. even the heartbeats in the room. It was like he was tuned in to everything. Suddenly, the machine emitted a long, low tone. The holographic screen came back to life, displaying one strange line of text. Subject not classified, human. The room exploded with voices. What does that mean? Someone shouted. Is he an android? Another whispered. No. No records of implants or augments, the tech officer said. He's just human. But that word, no longer sounded simple. Commander Varen's expression darkened. He turned to his aide. Notify the council. They'll want to see this immediately. Liam stood alone under the lights. He didn't move as the guards came closer. One of them, a young officer, whispered to him while fastening the restraint band around his wrist. What are you, cadet? Liam met his gaze. Maybe that's what they're trying to find out. The machine's lights dimmed again, and this time they didn't come back on. The chamber went black except for a single red warning symbol blinking across the screen, a symbol no one had ever seen before. The commander gave one last order. Take him to Isolation Wing 7. The cadets didn't say a word as Liam was escorted out. But deep down they all knew something had changed. Not just in the academy, but in everything they thought they knew about human limits. And as the door closed behind him, the machine gave one last whisper before shutting down completely. Was that fast enough? The voice wasn't robotic anymore. Sounded almost human. The walls of the council chamber were made of dark glass. Behind them, faint blue lines of energy pulsed like veins, feeding power to the massive room. At the center stood a round table, polished steel, cold, and glowing faintly with data streams. Around it sat 7 figures, each wearing the silver emblem of the Galactic Academy, and in the middle of the room, under a narrow beam of light, stood Cadet Liam Cross. His wrists were bound by thin energy cuffs, glowing softly but unbreakable. 2 guards stood behind him, silent, expressionless. The chief counselor, a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that reflected light like mirrors, leaned forward. Her name was Ilara Voss. Her voice, calm but sharp, cut through the heavy silence. Cadet Cross, she began. You broke an academy system built to measure limits. Machines designed by the most advanced AI in the sector failed to read your reflexes. Can you explain this? Liam took a slow breath. His voice was quiet, almost uncertain. I didn't mean to break anything, ma'am. I just reacted. The council members exchanged glances. One of them, a thin man with glowing implants around his temples, spoke next. Reacted? The system recorded your movement before the signal began. That's not a reaction, that's prediction. Liam looked down. He didn't have an answer. The truth was, even he didn't understand what had happened. When he took that test, it had felt like time slowed around him. Every flicker of light, every pulse of sound, he felt them before they happened. But how could he explain that to them without sounding insane? Ilara pressed a button on her console. The hologram above the table changed to show the footage from the test. Everyone watched in silence. Liam stood motionless in the center of the chamber. Then, in a blur, he struck the target panel before the signal light turned green. The machine overloaded. Sparks flew. Then the system crashed. The video ended, and for a moment no one spoke. Then Counselor Voss turned to her scientists. Confirmed that the data is authentic. A man in a white uniform nodded. Yes, Counselor. The readings are verified. No tampering. No implants. He's 100% human. Then how do you explain this anomaly? The scientist hesitated. We can't. His neural response speed is 20 times higher than normal human capacity. Even enhanced soldiers don't reach that. The chamber filled with low whispers. One counselor leaned toward another. Maybe he's not from here. You mean an outsider? Or something new? Liam felt their eyes burning into him, studying him like a specimen. He lifted his head slowly. You keep asking what I am, he said softly. But I'm asking myself the same question. A quiet murmur swept the table. Ilara Voss raised her hand, silencing everyone. Then let's find the answer, she said. We'll begin with a neural scan. 2 guards stepped forward, attaching a metallic ring around Liam's head. Tiny blue lights flickered as the device powered up. Liam clenched his jaw. He felt the cold metal against his skin, then a pulse. Soft at first, then stronger. Images flashed through his mind. Not his own memories, but things he couldn't explain. A battlefield. burning cities, stars collapsing. A voice whispering through static, "You are not the first." The pulse stopped. The lights dimmed. Liam gasped for air. The scientist monitoring the scan stared at his datapad in disbelief. Impossible. There are layers of memory that don't belong to him. Ilara frowned. Explain. He's carrying foreign neural patterns, like echoes of someone else's life. Another counselor slammed his hand on the table. You're saying he's possessed? No, the scientist said quickly. It's more like inherited data, ancient, pre-human maybe. The room fell into stunned silence. Ilara's voice dropped, quiet but cold. Cadet Cross, do you know where you come from? He hesitated. I was found in the outer colonies. My parents died when I was young. I was brought here when I was 12. Found, she repeated. Not born here. The council exchanged knowing looks. We should detain him, one said. He could be dangerous. Or valuable, another added. If he's a link to something older. Ilara raised her hand again, silencing them all. No decisions yet. We don't destroy what we don't understand. She turned her gaze to Liam. Until further notice, you are confined to Research Sector 9. You'll be under constant supervision. And Cadet, her tone softened slightly, if what we saw today is real, then you might be more important than any of us realize. As the guards led Liam away, the council members continued to argue in hushed tones. But Ilara stayed silent, watching the hologram replay of his impossible movement. Behind her, the system that had recorded the data flickered one last time, displaying a line of strange text no one noticed. Subject pattern detected. Origin code. Unknown timeline. Back in the hallway, Liam walked between the guards. The metal floors echoed with every step. He looked through the window at the academy below. The same cadets training, unaware of what was happening above them. He felt a chill crawl through his body. Not fear, but something deeper, a connection to the stars outside. And then, quietly, as they passed under the flickering lights, he whispered to himself, maybe I wasn't made to take their test. Maybe I am the test. The cell in Research Sector 9 was quiet, too quiet. The walls were white, smooth, and humming faintly with hidden circuits. There were no windows, no clocks, only the constant low sound of electricity crawling through the air. Liam Cross sat on the edge of the small metal bed, staring at his hands. The faint marks from the neural ring were still glowing on his temples, tiny blue lines that pulsed like veins of light. He hadn't slept since the test. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes, pieces of something that didn't belong to him. Stars falling, machines burning, shadows whispering his name in a voice that wasn't his own. He pressed his palms to his face. What's happening to me? He whispered. A mechanical hiss broke the silence. The door to his cell slid open, and a figure stepped inside. Dr. Wren Hale, one of the senior researchers. He was tall, wearing a white coat and a scanner strapped to his wrist. You're awake, Wren said softly. Didn't sleep, Liam replied. Wren nodded, tapping the scanner. I wouldn't either if I were you. He sat across from Liam, studying him like an unsolved puzzle. Do you know what you triggered during the reflex test? Liam shook his head. No, they said the system broke. It didn't just break, Wren said, lowering his voice. It sent a signal. Liam's eyes narrowed. A signal? Wren turned the scanner toward him, projecting a small hologram, a star map. This appeared seconds after your test ended. It came from inside the Academy's system. Transmission, coded in an ancient language no AI can decode. Liam frowned. You're saying I sent it? It came through you, Wren said. We traced the frequency. It matched the neural pulses your brain gave off during the test. The words hit him like cold water. He stood up pacing. So I'm some kind of transmitter now? No, Wren said, you're something older. Something the system recognized. Wren looked toward the door, then back at Liam. The council doesn't know this part yet. If they find out, they'll move you to deep containment. Liam frowned. Why are you telling me this? Wren sighed. Because I think this signal isn't a warning. It's a call. And whatever it's calling, it's already on its way. Liam felt his pulse quicken. You think it's alive? I think it's listening, Wren said quietly. And it knows your name. Hours passed. The academy above them went on with its normal routines, unaware that deep below, the walls of Research Sector 9 were beginning to tremble with faint rhythmic pulses. Ren stayed by his monitor, eyes wide. "It's responding again," he muttered. The same signal pattern, increasing in strength. Liam stood near the wall, feeling the vibration through his skin. It wasn't just sound, it was familiar. Like a heartbeat he had known his entire life. He whispered, "It's not coming from space, is it?" Ren turned, startled. "How do you know that?" "Because it's inside me," Liam said softly. The lights flickered. The hum grew louder, and then suddenly everything went dark. Red emergency lights blinked on. The alarms began to wail. Guards rushed through the corridors as systems went offline one by one. The central AI spoke in a broken, glitching voice. "Security alert. Unknown code detected. Core breach. Origin unknown." Ren looked at Liam and froze. The blue marks on Liam's skin were glowing brighter now, spreading across his neck and shoulders like electric veins. His eyes shimmered with faint white light. "Liam," Ren whispered, "whatever this is, you have to control it." But Liam wasn't hearing him anymore. His mind was somewhere else. He saw visions, not of the academy, not of Earth, but of another place. A vast structure floating between stars, endless and ancient. Voices echoed through his thoughts. Not words, but emotions. And then, in the deepest corner of his mind, he heard the phrase again. "You are not the first." Liam fell to his knees, clutching his head. The floor beneath him began to crack, the metal bending from unseen pressure. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Ren backed away. "The energy readings are off the charts. He's destabilizing the field." The guards rushed in. "Step away from the subject." But before they could reach him, a shockwave burst from Liam's body, silent but powerful. The guards were thrown back against the walls. The lights exploded, and then everything stopped. When the smoke cleared, Liam was standing in the center of the room. The restraints on his wrists were shattered. The glowing lines on his skin faded slowly, leaving faint scars. Ren stared at him, shaking. "What did you do?" Liam looked around, calm now but different. His voice was low. "I didn't do it. It just woke up." Moments later, a hologram flickered to life above Ren's damaged console. It wasn't the Academy's system. It was something else. A projection of a symbol. A circle split by 3 lines of light. Beneath it, words appeared in a forgotten language. Ren tried to translate, but Liam already knew what it said. He didn't know how, but he could read it perfectly. "The origin awakens. The sequence continues." Ren stepped back. "What origin? What sequence?" Liam met his eyes. "The thing they built your academy to study," he said quietly. "The thing they stopped believing in." Ren's face went pale. "You mean the ancient project? The myth of the first race?" Liam nodded slowly. "Not a myth. A warning." The alarms cut off suddenly. A deep, hollow tone echoed through the base. Not mechanical, not digital. Sounded alive. Ren turned toward the ceiling. "What is that sound?" Liam looked up, his voice calm but cold. "It's answering the signal." The red lights flickered again, and the entire facility trembled as if something massive was moving beneath it. Something ancient, waking after centuries of silence. The tremors shook the entire Research Sector 9 like thunder rolling beneath the earth. The walls groaned. Lights flickered and sparks showered from broken cables above. Alarms wailed across the complex, but none of it mattered anymore. Something old was waking up. Dr. Ren Hale clung to the edge of a console, trying to keep his balance. "The energy levels are spiking. The signal's amplifying itself," he shouted over the noise. Liam stood in the center of the chaos, calm, almost too calm. His eyes glowed faintly white, reflecting the pulsing red lights around him. The metal floor under his feet rippled like water, bending to invisible pressure. "It's not stopping," Ren said, panic in his voice. "Whatever this thing is, it's answering you directly." Liam's gaze drifted upward. "It's not answering me," he said softly. "It's answering what's inside me." Ren froze. "Inside you?" Liam nodded slowly. "The signal isn't coming from out there. It's been buried in me the whole time, waiting for a trigger." Above them, in the council chamber, Commander Varin and Counselor Ilara Voss watched the chaos unfold on their flickering monitors. "Seal off the lower sectors," Varin barked. Contain him before the entire facility collapses. Ilara didn't move. Her silver eyes stayed fixed on the screen showing Liam. No, she whispered. Don't contain him. Watch him, Varen turned to her, shocked. You can't be serious. He's destabilizing the power grid. Ilara's voice was calm, but her eyes were full of realization. That boy isn't breaking the system. He is the system. We just never knew it. Back in the lab, the trembling grew stronger. The holographic symbol, the circle split by 3 glowing lines, appeared again, larger this time. It floated in midair, spinning slowly, sending waves of energy across the room. Ren stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. It's forming a gate. Liam, do something. But Liam didn't move. He was lost in the sound. The deep, echoing tone that filled the air wasn't frightening anymore. It felt familiar, like a heartbeat calling him home. He reached out toward the hologram. His fingers brushed the light, and instantly everything went still, no sound, no vibration. The air froze. Then a voice spoke. Not from the speakers, not from the machines, but directly inside his mind. Sequence recognized. Human vessel stable. Awakening protocol initiated. Liam's breath caught. His heart raced. Who are you? He whispered. We are the origin. The first consciousness. The ones who built your kind. Ren stared at Liam, who stood motionless in the blinding glow. Liam stepped back. It's merging with you. But Liam didn't hear him. His mind was somewhere beyond reality, floating in a vast ocean of memories that weren't his. He saw planets forming from dust. He saw ancient beings of light crafting DNA from starlight. He saw humanity, young, fragile, unaware, rising under the watch of something greater. And then he saw destruction. Fire raining from orbit, machines turning against their makers. The origin collapsing into silence, waiting for one spark to awaken them again. Liam's voice trembled. Why me? Because your species forgot. You remembered. I didn't remember anything, he shouted. Not with your mind, the voice replied. With your reflex. Liam froze. Reflex, that was the word, the test. The moment he touched the console, his body had reacted before thought, before time. It wasn't speed. It was instinct. The instinct of something far older than him. The lab began to shake again, but this time, it wasn't from chaos. It was transformation. Machines lifted off the ground, drawn into the glowing gate. Their metal shells melted into streams of light, circling around Liam like orbiting moons. Ren fell to his knees, staring in disbelief. You're rewriting physics. You're changing the environment. Liam turned to him, eyes now glowing brighter than ever. His voice sounded layered, as if 2 people were speaking at once. No, Doctor. The environment is remembering what it was. Outside the facility, the sky turned crimson. Clouds split open as streaks of white energy tore through the atmosphere. People across the academy ran for cover, staring in horror as a vast, circular structure appeared above the planet. The same symbol that hovered in Liam's lab, now spanning the heavens. In the council chamber, Ilara Voss watched, speechless. It's not an attack, she whispered. It's a reactivation, Varen clenched his fists. A reactivation of what? Ilara looked down. Of them. The holographic gate in the lab pulsed once, then expanded outward, surrounding Liam in a sphere of light. His body lifted slowly off the ground. Ren reached out, desperate. Liam, you'll die if this continues. Liam looked down at him with calm eyes. Maybe that's what they said about the first one, too. Ren shook his head. Don't say that. Liam smiled faintly. It's okay, Doctor. Maybe this is what I was meant for. The light grew brighter, swallowing everything in the room. For a moment, it felt like the entire world held its breath. Then, silence. When the light faded, the lab was empty. The machines were gone. The floor was scorched with a strange circular mark. The same 3-line symbol. Ren stood alone, trembling, staring at the space where Liam had been. Then faintly, the central monitor flickered back to life. A voice spoke through the static, soft, human, and calm. Tell them. The origin remembers. The screen went black. Hours later, Ilara Voss stood on the observation deck looking up at the strange light still hanging in the sky. Commander Varen approached her quietly. Any sign of the cadet? She didn't answer right away. No, she said finally. But this signal hasn't stopped. It's spreading across the entire star system. Farron looked uneasy. And what happens when it reaches the others? Ilara turned toward him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. Then, she said, the rest of humanity will wake up too.